said that reading makes you more empathetic as a person. It's a way to escape your own life. It can take you to faraway lands. It can put you into other people's shoes. It can even keep your brain healthy, reduce the stress, and make you sleep better. And some stories just inspire you. But today we're going to be talking to V.S. Holmes, the creator of the sci-fi series The Star's Edge, NEL Bentley Books, and in particular, the book Heretics. Don't go away. We'll be right back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the Writers' Corner live show. I'm your host, Bridget Limbanda from Cape Town in South Africa. Our stream today is made possible by Creative Edge and BeLive Media. A special warm welcome to our viewers. If you are watching us over on Amazon Live, on Twitter, on Facebook, YouTube, and over on LinkedIn. This is an audience-centric show, so the comments are being monitored. If you're over on Amazon Live, I've got my phone here, so I'm monitoring your comments over on Amazon Live. So just know that you will not be ignored. And with that, I want to just give Tish a shout out. She has been a long-time supporter of the Writers' Corner live show. So welcome to the show. In today's show, we're going to be talking to V.S. Holmes, the creator of the sci-fi series The Star's Edge, NEL Bentley Books. And we're going to be focusing on Heretics. If this is the first time watching the show, then let us know in the comments somehow, and we'd be happy to give you a shout out to welcome you. But before we introduce our guest, V.S. Holmes, I'm all about helping people level up. And these days, when you are an author, you need to be online effectively because we're not out of the woods of the pandemic yet and everything is done online. So one of the things that I use, for example, is Logitech Brio camera. It's got trademarked right light and HDR technology, which means it can automatically adjust your lighting conditions. Fantastic. If you haven't got the best light, invest in the Logitech Brio. And for audio, I use the Samsung CO1 USB microphone. There we are. This is the microphone that I use. The diecast is absolutely fantastic for sound. It reduces noise vibrations, and so it's ideal for people who are online. But not everybody wants to have a huge big camera or microphone. And you don't have to. You could also use something as tiny as the Rode Lavalier. It also is fantastic. You do want to make sure that your audio is good because people will forgive if they can't see you very well, if your camera's a little bit fuzzy, but people will definitely tune out if they can't hear you well. So audio is super, super, super important. And then, I know a lot of people don't have cameras or they may not even have a laptop and they go live or they prefer to go live from their phone, and nothing wrong with that. But you do want to stabilize your phones. And two things that I recommend if you are going to be going live from your phone is a stabilizer like the DJ Osmo, which I often use, or you can stabilize your phone in a tripod, or the photographer, anything, but stabilize your phone, because if you don't stabilize your phone, you actually make people feel seasick. No one can hold their phone in their hand for like 30 minutes without shaking your hand. It's impossible. So do invest in a tripod or stabilizer of some kind. So if you're watching the show over Amazon Live, then you will notice all those things are over in the carousel. So you can get them there. Also, our book today, Heretics, is also in the carousel. So it's very easy for you to just get them. And Tish is saying Logitech is the way to go. Yes, Tish, I started up with Logitech a long time ago. This was my original camera, my original Logitech camera. But we've come a long way to the Brio where we are today. So getting back to our amazing author for today, V.S. Holmes is an international best-selling author and creator of Blood of the Titan series, as well as the NEL Bentley books. Smoke and Rain, the first book in the fantasy quartet, won a New Apple Literary Excellence in Independent Publishing Award in 2015 and a Literary Titan Gold in 2020. Travelers is also included in the Peregrine Moonlander mission as part of the Writers on the Moon time capsule. Now, we're going to be focusing on the book Heretics. But who better to actually talk about it than V.S. Holmes? Welcome to the show. So glad that you are able to join me today. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. This is really fun.
It's an absolute pleasure. How did you get into writing in the first place? What got you started? Because sometimes people say, it's just something that they started doing from a young age, or it was their mom or their teacher. What inspired you to put pen to paper?
Well, I grew up in a very literary household. My mother was an editor, albeit for nonfiction for many, many years. And my dad was a big sci-fi fantasy lover. And so I sort of naturally gravitated towards fiction when I was younger. And I did notice that there were a lot of books that didn't have characters like me in them. And, as a young child, that can be kind of alienating. And so when I got a little bit older, I wanted to write stories that had characters that, looked like me and loved like me and felt like me. And so that was sort of my first inspiration to start writing. And then I started writing the two series that you were just talking about, Blood of Titans and Star's Edge NEL Bentley, when I got to be more of an adult. And I wanted to explore some wonders of the universe, albeit in fantasy and in science fiction. So
I must tell you, Tish is watching us over on Amazon Live, says that you have a very happy, smiley face.
Thank you. People don't get to see it as much with the masks these days. So
I know. It's very, very hard to be as expressive as you normally would like to be. Half your face is covered, and it's literally just your eyes. Although I must say, it's amazing how much can be conveyed with eyes.
Mm-hmm.
If you're smiling, people can really tell that in your eyes. Just or making eye contact with people, it is just absolutely amazing. So tell us a little bit how the series came about and how Heretics fits into the entire series.
Sure. So Travelers and all of the Star's Edge NEL Bentley books follow Dr. NEL Bentley, who is a foul-mouthed, foul-tempered archaeologist. And she is digging on a site in Chile. She's an academic archaeologist, so she's running a school for some of her grad students and her undergrad students. And she discovers that this site of hers is at the center of this intergalactic feud that is several thousand years old. And she gets thrown into this world of high tech and higher stakes. And though she's not much of a tech person, and she's quite skeptical, there is a certain person, Lynn, who is quite cute. And Nell gets her sights set on Lynn and can't help but just throw herself headfirst into this world. And Heretics is the fourth book. There will be a total of 6 in the series. And it follows Nell as she comes back to Earth after a hiatus that was a lot longer than she anticipated. And she discovers that the world that she left behind doesn't have a space for her, or maybe that she no longer fits in the space that she left. And it was really fun to explore that concept, with added explosions.
I can well imagine. Now I know that you got a raving review for the book. How did that feel? I mean, that is just amazing.
Yes, thank you. I was absolutely floored. Having a review, I appreciate all of my reviews, regardless of the source. Reviews are some of the best gifts, free gifts that you can give authors. And to have Heretics reviewed in Publishers Weekly was really incredible for me, especially because this book I wrote at the very beginning of the pandemic and also in the wake of grief of my father's passing. And it really felt a lot of times that some of the characters and feelings in Heretics were just ripped right from my chest. And so to have something so visceral and emotional reviewed so highly and in such a prestigious magazine was really, really incredible for me.
I can well imagine. Now, I've been saying to authors for the last 2 years, and I'm going to ask you this question as well. What was it like to write a pandemic book?
Well, not fun. I had to rewrite it, actually. I wrote it twice. I started out using the method that I had always been using. I was quite a heavy plotter, so I sort of plotted out all the beats. And I did that even more so with Heretics at first, partially because there was so much chaos going on. And, I was dealing with a lot of other personal stuff as well, regardless of the pandemic. And so I thought that if I adhered even more strictly than usual to this outline, that would help me get through this book. I was so wrong. It was actually the opposite that was true. And when I scrapped the entire outline, I found that what my problem was Nell was feeling a lot of the same feelings I was feeling: isolation and confusion and fear of something that she couldn't see, but that was deadly and killing people that she loved. And, hers was a deadly radio transmission, not a virus, though the virus did make a brief cameo in the book. And I think that was part of the problem, was I didn't want to face some of those feelings because I was surrounded by them. And it was cathartic. It was cathartic to write through them, but would not recommend doing that.
Yeah, I can well imagine. Tish is just saying over on Amazon Live about your review in Publishers Weekly. She says it's a kind way of knowing your work is accepted and that people love it, which of course
It is.
Absolutely is. Mm-hmm. When you're writing, do you write longhand or do you type? Because a lot of people, some people like one and other people like the other. Which do you do?
I do a little bit of both when I'm, sitting down and going to work, so to speak. I type. I have a Google document. I travel a lot, so it's a lot easier for me to carry my laptop and a hard drive than it is, a stack of notebooks. But I do carry one notebook with me. And because I'm oftentimes away from internet connection or away from my computer itself, I do often write longhand if something strikes me, if some sort of inspiration happens, or I'll just text it to myself, which of course is great, except when I have to decipher what the heck I meant much later, because my phone will autocorrect, and I'm like, that doesn't make sense. I know I thought it was brilliant when I wrote it down. So I do a little bit of both, but when I'm really getting into a scene and sitting down for a long time, I do type. It's much faster for me, and my handwriting is atrocious. So
I know now Mary, who's my co-host on the Writers Corner live show, what she does is she sort of goes between writing things down and just doing voice recordings.
Yes.
When, a thought is in her head, because, she often says these random thoughts sort of just come into her head during the course of the day. And if she doesn't have anything to write, she'll just do a voice recording and then capture that text later, So you've got to do whatever works for you.
Yep. Yeah. Well, you can't miss out on those thoughts, because you always think like, oh, I'll remember it. It was a big enough epiphany. You won't. You won't remember it.
Isn't it funny how that works? That you often kind of think, no, I'll remember that. And once that moment's gone, it's gone. And it's very difficult to recreate what you felt at that exact moment,
Yes.
Do you have a favorite section out of the book I can ask you to read? Would you mind?
Sure. Sure, I can. So this is the fourth book, and Nell is the main character. She's the only point of view character. And Lynn is her on again, off again girlfriend. And Dar is Lynn's brother. So it's just a brief little orientation. So this is from chapter 3. Stiffness woke Nell. She rolled her neck with a groan. I don't think I have the body for camping anymore, she muttered, peering against the sunlight bathing her face. Somewhere above, a hideously cheerful bird chirped, and she fumbled for her sleeping bag zipper. There was no sleeping bag, or tent. Sunlight was beaming from mirrors and lamps just overhead. The chirping continued, and she glared at the holographic message displayed over her wrist. Reminder, shuttle departure for La Fée de l'Amour in T-minus 105 minutes. She peered at the glowing red letters for a moment before parsing that if she didn't hurry, she might miss saying goodbye. No, 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 no. She scrambled to her feet and bolted to the nearest elevator shaft. Shoving through the doors, she jabbed at her communicator. No messages from Lynn, or Zach, or frankly anyone. Only one unread thread blinked in her inbox. And it was the 4 system reminders that she had apparently slept through. She swiped it clear and bounced on the balls of her feet, trying to blink exhaustion from her bleary eyes. Come on, she muttered to the elevator as the floors rolled past. Weight draped over her as the capsule hurtled outwards. Another 2 seconds, and it hummed to a halt at the residential level. She broke into a jog. Whatever she and Lynn had was complicated, made even more so by the layers of their increasingly complex world and Nell's own mercurial temper. But I'll still miss her. More than she'd like to admit. Tense voices slowed Nell's steps as she rounded the last bend to Lynn's room. Shrinking back against the wall, she peered around the corner. Dar lounged beside Lynn's open door, feet crossed at the ankle. Despite the relaxed stance, a dark glare knotted his features. Lynn blocked her doorway, arms crossed. I don't really care what you think, Lynn snapped, and I don't want to get into this at all, let alone here and now. Just because you've suddenly grown some emotions doesn't mean I have to put them above my own. You had your chance to see things my way years ago. You had another chance back on CE7. That would be Nell's site. I'm not suddenly interested in seeing things your way, he spat. I'm interested in my baby sister's safety. I'm concerned this rabbit hole, this obsession, whatever it is, will get you killed. You were on track for a promotion. You demoted me. I could have been DeBelle's intern. I had my reasons. What kind of person follows someone across space? He hissed. Dar. Lynn's voice was tired, but tense with something else. Fear? Nell fought back the urge to rush from behind the corner and wedge herself between them. Except Dar didn't look like he was going to hurt her. Lynn, please just think about it. Aya and Ibu are worried too, you know. Lynn's hand slammed into the wall with a sickening thud. Tendons bunched in her throat, but Nell couldn't say if it was pain or fury. Is that why I haven't heard from them in months? You're holding them over my head until I sharpen up and fly straight? Dar looked away, and his gaze halted on Nell, tucked by the door. She opened her mouth to apologize, but his head shook almost imperceptibly. You know I haven't heard from them either, but they mentioned it before, and again when Nell's transfer docs came over their screens this morning. Associating with her is going to get you killed. He shoved off the wall and made to reach for her shoulder, but stopped a few inches shy. Please, just consider it. Nell jerked out of sight again. A second later, he almost collided with her as he strode around the bend. His gaze pinned her, but he said nothing, boots stomping long after he disappeared up the hall. She peeked at Lynn's door again. It was shut, the corridor deserted. Dar clearly felt she threatened Lynn somehow. Why do I feel like he just entrusted a huge secret with me? Drawing a deep breath, she stepped up to Lynn's door, heart hammering. She pressed her brow to the door, palms spreading across the gleaming metal. None of them want me here. I don't even want to be here. Every nasty comment her ex's bigoted parents spat at her now drifted in the space station's recycled air, light years from home. She pressed the private intercom. Lynn? Silence. Sorry I'm late. Can I see you before you go? Still nothing. I saw Dar in the hall. He looked kind of angry. Do you... Nell? She rolled to see Lynn striding down the hall. Gleaming electro suit was perfectly fastened, long hair braided and tucked carefully away in preparation for the helmet of her spacesuit. The shadows under her warm eyes rocketed Dar's words to the forefront of Nell's thoughts. What kind of person follows someone across space? She pulled a smile she didn't feel onto her face. Hey, babe, just looking for you. Me too. Is your comm on? Did you get the messages? Nell glanced at her wrist. Just a bunch of updates about your mission. Our mission, Lynn interrupted. Her expression might have been a smile, were it not for the hardness in her eyes. As of 0200 today, you've been transferred to the field task force. You're going home.
Wow, that was amazing. That was very, very, very captivating. Is this book available in audio? I mean, you are just amazing.
Thank you. The first book was available in audio, but I'm recasting the narrator. I need someone who can nail Spanish accents. So yeah, it's not in audio yet. My other books are, but I'm working on it. So now you've given me extra inspiration.
You just did an amazing job there.
Thank you.
So well done. Now, you seem to have mastered the art of, Tish says, oh my goodness, that was just an awesome, beautiful reading. Kudos.
Thank you. Thank you.
Audio books as well. So she totally agrees with me. For a new author who's watching the show, could you share a quick tip for or strategy for compelling storytelling? Because you seem to have nailed it.
Thank you. Honestly, throw out most advice and write what you want to be reading. Write what excites you. If there's something, and I don't really agree with the term guilty pleasure myself, because all art is awesome and you should consume it. But lean into whatever like weird little obsessions and fascinations you have, and just let yourself wallow in it, and absorb as much art as you can. But really, just let yourself have fun with it, and let yourself enjoy your characters, because I've found when I am trying to be very prescriptive and follow all the advice, that's where I lose the heart of my work. And I think we need to have more fun with our creativity and remember that it is art as much as it is business too for some of us.
So your characters is mostly around your own life experiences, or do you include life experiences of people in your circle of friends, people that you know, people from school?
Definitely both. I haven't gone to space yet, though my work has. I like to draw from my experiences, and I also like to draw from what I wish I could see. A lot of science fiction can serve as a warning, I think, especially, the classics. A lot of those have big, maybe don't do this warning labels in their worlds. And for me, I also like to build worlds that I'd like to see ours become, and the things that I would like to see, come of my friends and my career, especially when it comes to like the high tech stuff. I like to think like, oh, well, what would make my job easier? So I do that, but I do also include a lot of fun anecdotes, from my own life. I have a little passage in the book that says to my coworkers, if you see some of your anecdotes and stories in here, thank you. I have changed most of the names to protect the guilty, but.
Now, just looking at your covers, I mean, your covers are amazing. How do you decide on the covers? Do you use one artist? Did your publisher decide on the covers? Tell us a bit about the covers of the books.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you like them. I did them myself, actually, which is like the big no. Don't do your covers yourself. But I find myself to be pretty decent at it. When it comes to photo manipulation, when it comes to my fantasy books, I do use artists and then do the formatting as far as the text and so forth myself. I'm very big on things that, match and are consistent across the series, perhaps to an annoying degree. But I do really love that consistency, and I do a lot of research when it comes to what other books within my genre are doing, what seems to be catching people's eyes. And I love color. I love playing with contrasting colors, and especially with, space and stars and eclipses and things like that. I find that really enjoyable. So I like to incorporate that for sure.
Fantastic. Yeah. Tish is also saying, she says the covers are absolutely perfect. I like to look at the covers of the book, because not everyone does their own cover. Well, I think you're probably the first author that I've come across that's done their own cover. Because either people commission it out or their publicist does the cover. Um, so that's interesting. Tell me a little bit about, do you have a publicist, and why do you have a publicist? Because not
I
everyone
do.
does.
I do have a publicist. My books are independently published, but I met Mickey Mickelson at Creative Edge a few years ago. I think we're going on 4 years now. We were just talking about it. And I love being able to connect with people and connect with readers, through awesome opportunities like this. But especially as an author with a day job, and the vast majority of authors have day jobs, it's really, really difficult to write your book, polish your book, talk about your book, have your other job, and then also find all these opportunities. And for me, it was something that, I really didn't want to do myself. And I don't have all the amazing connections that Creative Edge does. And so when I joined with him 4 years ago, I was a little skeptical. Like, this seems like something I could probably do myself, but I don't know. I was so wrong. And finding a publicist, especially one as awesome as Mickey, probably the best choice I've made for my author career. I've worked with marketers. I've worked with other people. Definitely one of the best choices I ever made.
I like to explain to people that I think the reason you need a publicist is because you wouldn't walk into a courtroom without an attorney.
Exactly.
Nobody's going to take you seriously without an attorney. So if you walk into a bookstore, and you say, I've just released this book, talk to my publicist, it kind of gives you an authority that you wouldn't otherwise have. So I think that is one of the great things. As you said, it also gives you other opportunities, because you've got a day job and other things to do, unless you can do this full time. Do you plan to at some point become a full-time author? Is that something in your landscape?
Maybe. I'm one of the very lucky people who absolutely adores their day job. I work as a contract archaeologist, and I love what I do, and it's important, and I love the people that I work with most of the time. There's been a few villain cameos in my book, right? But I really enjoy it, and so for now, I'm happy doing this as a side gig. And I think, especially in such a tumultuous world as we're sort of surviving through right now, making big career changes might not be up my alley. And I want to keep my creative spark and my joy of writing for as long as possible as well. And I want to make sure that when I do make that switch, that's something I can hang on to, because I think sometimes when you do try and make it, a career, it can be stressful, and you can start to view it more as work. And that's something that I'm not wanting to do just yet.
So Tisha's got a question here for you. She says she's curious to know, what is the agreement, if any, as to how an author's new book is displayed in the store on Amazon?
Oh, I have no idea. Amazon is a great mystery. So
I'm very good about telling you how things work.
Right. Yeah, so really it's, finding the right way to nail the algorithms, and looking for me, what I do is I look at what other books are doing in my genre around the same time that I'm going to be releasing mine, because the algorithms and all sorts of the back stuff definitely changes quite frequently. So I try and focus on that. And then, a lot of it is on the marketing side, which is sort of different from publicity insofar as it's mostly focusing on sales. And so, I'll hire some people to help me get the word out and help people who maybe haven't seen my stuff start out with the beginning of the series before the next book comes out. And that usually helps the viewings and how it's viewed in the Amazon store. I hope that answers your question, Tish.
I think it does. And I just want to give a shout out to Lillian Muller. She's in watching us from Switzerland, also a huge supporter of the Writers Corner live show. Your next book, when is it out?
Good question. No, I am most of the way done with number 5, which is Fugitives, which will be the second to last book in the Nell Bentley series. I am told, unfortunately, that in order to release the book, you are supposed to finish writing the book, and that's what I'm focusing on right now. This one was another, halfway through the book, I realized that I was actually writing the 6th book and not the 5th book, and that's why things weren't fitting together.
Uh-huh.
Which, the creative process is quite an exciting journey, I guess. But I will say that Fugitives is probably my favorite book in the Nell Bentley series that I've written. We get to dive a little bit more into Dar's character, and I love the way he and Nell butt heads because they're so different and so similar in so many ways. And that's been really fun. And, it's a book focusing on a lot of isolation and fear as well. They're basically refugees at this point. And I think that that's something that will resonate with a lot of people, that loneliness and the uncertainty. So I'm very excited. I'm hoping that it will be out maybe later, the end of this year. So we'll see.
We'll have to invite you back onto the Writers Corner live show. Thank you so much. I can't believe, but we're out of time. So just a huge big shout out to everyone who's watched us live and anybody who's going to be watching this on the replay. Thank you so much for joining us. This was amazing. Thank you for spending time with us on the Writers Corner live show. Thanks very much, everyone. Stay safe, take care, and we'll see you back next week on another episode of the Writers Corner live show. Till then, goodbye from now.